The streets are buzzing. New York Knicks pull off a big victory in Philly. Man, late game cardiac affair as our New York Knicks hit shots and played defense in the second half, but almost threw it away. A lot of sloppiness, but the win is very important, man. Let's break it down. Let's shout you guys out as the streets will buzz tonight, man. From New York City all the way over to Philly. The crowd was heavy in the arena, and the Knicks gave an L to Philadelphia, and a nice get back. Landry Shamet hit a big three, man. You see him go crazy late, and OG Anunoby was big time using his athleticism, but our New York Knicks, man, got to take care of the ball. Late game execution and sloppiness abound. Like I said, man, the refs were sloppy, Philadelphia was sloppy, and our New York Knicks were sloppy, man. There was enough sloppiness to go around, man, more than a prison cafeteria. As our New York Knicks, man, though, man, the defense was impressive in the third quarter when the Knicks went on a 15-0 run when Karl Anthony Towns picked up his fourth foul and went to the bench and step up. Mitchell Robinson, man, the nemesis, Philadelphia's nemesis, Mitchell Robinson, man. Philly fans can't get no sleep. They'll be having nightmares about the Block Ness monster because Mitchell Robinson, once again, man, had an all-timer tonight, man. He gets the game ball. We're going to dial that up. We're going to roll these highlights, man. No MSG tonight, but national TV game. The Knicks go back to 9 games over 500 now, 27-18, man. This game was so important to pull out, right? Because the Knicks had slid down to 4th, man, last night. And we'll take a look at the standings. I think we might be back up into 3rd, but we'll get a good look at that later, fam. As we ride high, breathe a sigh of relief, but a lot of lessons to learn. But a lot of things you like to see. The Knicks showed heart in this one. I thought Hart was amazing on the offensive glass. Brunson, sloppy late, was big time early, especially in the third quarter, though. But Mikal Bridges, man, Brick City, we'll talk about him. Karl Anthony Towns, not effective as well, dealing with Joel Embiid. And foul trouble. Joel Embiid, man, looking a lot better, but he gassed out, right? I had my, reservations over whether or not Joel Embiid could last the entire game at that pace, man. He was headed for a classic game at 28 points at the half, but Joel Embiid faded, man. And Mitchell Robinson rose from the heavens, as you see in that one, man. One of the best posters on the season, Mitch tracking that one. And obviously Jalen Brunson was a handful, man. He loves playing at the Els Fargo, obviously going back to the Villanova days. Welcome in Michael Drake, Shez V, Violent Knicks Culture, Chris Gotti, D. Grant, Jose G, NYC. Let's go, everyone. Big time win, national TV. And yeah, we raised our level, like NYC said. Second half, third quarter was amazing, man. Holding Philadelphia to just 13 points, man. 30-13. One of our best quarters on the season, man. That's right up there with the NBA Cup, right up there with Christmas Day, right on the road. And look, I know it didn't look like it late, but Brunson always says, man, he plays his best ball on the road, right? Brunson likes to play more on the road rather than home, which is, I can't really quite get my head around it, but it is what it is. You take it. Brunson has his good games, obviously in Philly as well, but man, Mitchell Robinson, man, what a bounce back, because Joel Embiid owned Mitch in the last game at MSG, but Mitchell Robinson took this one personally, and he said, hey, Cat, no worries, man, I got you, right? Cat didn't have it going. The officiating was trash. They were calling a lot of ticky-tack. Embiid was getting to the line. He was living at the line early, but, Mitch played straight-up defense. The Knicks were getting stops. Philly went cold. The third quarter is the quarter that you want to watch, fam. If you didn't catch this game live, you go back and watch the third quarter, man, on replay, because the Knicks flipped this game on a switch, especially with Mitchell Robinson, you there, showing his bag. And Adem Bona was awful for Philadelphia, man. We were exposing him as well. He was more sloppy than anyone. Well, actually, it was a battle between Cat and Adembona in terms of who was the most sloppy. But Mitch took him off the bounce there. You love to see that. A lot of guys tried, like Jose G said. Towns tried so hard for us not to win. I'm sorry I was wrong about this guy. He's a goofball in my eyes. You look, there's going to be a lot of criticism to go around, but yeah, this wasn't one of Cat's finest moments, man. But like I said, our teammates had his back, and you just see Mitch step up in the way that he did, and it bodes well for our future, fam, because like Cat, there's going to be that foul trouble, there's going to be that sloppiness even in the postseason, and I really feel like Mitch is our ceiling in terms of like changing games in the playoffs, because we'll take a look at the rebounds. The Knicks pulled in 19 offensive rebounds with Mitchell Robinson pulling in 6, right? And we'll jump back to the highlights in a minute, but look at this box score, man. 19 offensive rebound. The Knicks out-rebounded Philadelphia by almost 20, right? So that is the blueprint right there. Even if we're missing, we're getting those opportunities, right? And without further ado, I think this might be his first game ball, definitely on the season, but Mitchell Robinson, well overdue, right? And his hustle and energy, and he's a difference maker, fam. Free agency be damned. There's no way Mitchell Robinson can get traded right now unless Leon Rose wants his head on the chopping block. Mitch is right here all the way to the end, man. We ride till the wheels fall off with Mitchell Robinson and his expiring contract, right? I think today, man, he earned himself an extra couple of zeros on the end of that contract coming up around the league, because this was on national TV. Stan Van Gundy, fans alike, casuals and diehards appreciate what Mitchell Robinson was able to produce in this one, fam. In the spotlight, right? Obviously, we're going to talk about Clarkson continues to be out of the rotation. We're going to talk about the battle, what Karl Anthony Towns struggling tonight, Mitchell Robinson stepping up. Also, I want to give an honorable mention to Huck. I thought Huck Porty came in, right? He had to rip off his warm-ups as Cat picked up his 5th, and it was too early in the 4th to bring Mitch back in. Huck Porty came in, got a block, got, I think, 3 offensive rebounds as well, right? Huck Porty gave us a little cameo that I think was really, really important, fam, as well. Some big shots late. Obviously, the free throws, man, killed us. D. Grant says Knicks fan stress level was at an all-time. Yeah, man, I want to ask you guys, what do you think is the issue with our late game execution, man? There's so many things. It's decision making. Once again, OG Anunoby, man, could have dribbled the basketball, could have dribbled the clock out. We had a 3-point lead with 12 seconds on the clock. What does he do? He drives to the rack, gets fouled, but then they win the challenge call. Bang, ball back to Philly with just down 3, a chance to win the game or tie it. Crazy decision making, man. That's why we need another point guard, in my opinion, man. OG was a culprit late with some decisions early in the playoffs last season as well. Fam, obviously he produced on a major level with some highlight jams. And OG, you love him to be aggressive right there, but coaching wise, just fundamentals, man. You gotta see these games out, man. It's gonna be chaos in the playoffs, fam. Right. Reset your pacemakers, fam, and get your blood pressure pills ready. Right. But our Knicks pulled it out, right? Mike says OG, oh no, he didn't. That's a good one. Salute buzzer beater and everyone in the building, man. Blessings to you, Knicks Nation. Got the streets buzzing tonight, man. Big win on Saturday night, and much needed, right? We'll take it. We ain't playing our best. Once again, a 4th quarter game where we didn't produce for 4 quarters, but this is a lot better from what we saw against Dallas, fam. What we saw against Phoenix. The Knicks hung around. We're matching shot for shot. I think Joel Embiid killed us, in the first half. He deserves credit. 28 points in the first half. He dominated, but I think the game plan to obviously adjust was a lot better, and the ball movement was really good. You see the ball swing around multiple times. Here, Brunson hits the open 3. I think we did a good job of working Philly around. You see Embiid, like later in the game, he wasn't mobile. And Even when he was killing us early in the first, you kind of think, okay, you got to test Embiid, challenge him. Uh, Now he's going to get a lot of, hate tonight, but Mikal Bridges, 3 of 16 or 3 of however many, man. But there was one play where he challenged Joel Embiid. He took it to the rack. He took Embiid to the rack and got a foul call, right? We wanted to see more of that. Hart kind of backed out of that one. But yeah, Embiid, you got to test him, man. That those knees aren't going to survive fourth quarter at this kind of pace. And what happened? He gassed out, man. He gassed out like it was a 200-meter sprint. And the Knicks capitalized, man. Chris Gotti says, yeah, free throws was a massive issue. I think that's at the top of closing games out, in terms of that's a good answer. We've got to knock down those free throws. Even last year was a major issue. How many did we miss, fam? Whoa, we missed 12 free throws, man. 15 of 27. We gave away free Chick-fil-A, I think 3 times. Man, Chick-fil-A's in Philadelphia going to go out of business because of Josh Hart, Brunson, OG. Hart was 1 of 5 from the stripe. Brunson 3 of 5. Miles McBride missed a couple as well, and OG and Shamit missed one as well, a piece, right? Carl Anthony Towns, you see only 16 minutes, right? Is the Mike Brown situation, the trade conversations getting to him? Possibly. D. Grant asked there, what quarter did Cat foul out? He fouled out in the fourth, early though, but he did pick up his 4th foul early in the third. So he basically hardly played in the second half, because of that early 4th foul. And look, I'm going to say it, man. Thank God he picked up his 4th foul early, because that changed the game in the third when Mitchie came in. And it stepped up, like New York City Gray says, man. Knicks defense in the third stepped it up, and it was led by Mitch. I guess the best thing we could see is, he's moving well now. He's rebounding at an all-time high, and Embiid just couldn't keep up. I see Philly fans criticizing, their coach for playing Adem Bona instead of Andre Drummond. Man, I don't know what's up with Drummond. He killed us last time with the 3 ball. I don't know if he was healthy, but to go with Adem Bona over, Andre Drummond was a killer if Drummond was healthy, in my opinion. Because, yeah, Adem Bona was one of the Knicks' best players tonight, and he was wearing a Philly, jersey. But, everyone took advantage of him, and he was sloppy as well, giving up a lot of foul calls. But yeah, as a whole, guys, our ball movement was a lot better. We need to keep it up. Absolute savagery here from Mitchie. Look at that lockdown D, forcing Embiid to throw it to the Knicks bench, man. One of my favorite plays on the game, man. You just want to see Mitch be disciplined, and then him sky for the heavens for the Statue of Liberty jam, right? And getting a stop as well. Definitely Mitch looks a lot more healthy, the way he was moving tonight. Let me see how many minutes Mitch played. Mitch was on 26 minutes, so that's a positive sign. 3 of 4 efficient, plus 14, a team high, 10 rebounds, 6 offensive, 2 steals, and 2 blocks as well. Huck Porty, in just 4 minutes, got 3 rebounds as well. Right, almost a rebound a minute did Ariel Huck Porty. 1 offensive rebound too. Fam. So, look, we know Huck Porty. I think the Knicks will look to try to bring in an Eves Missy, possibly another big man, Nick Richards, Day'Ron Sharp, Daniel Gafford. But there's still some life in Ariel Huck Porty in terms of a cameo role. He was solid, I think, in the 4 minutes. Deuce McBride, again, couldn't really hit 3, so I can't blame everything on Cat, because Miles McBride, 3 of 11, 1 of 8 from downtown, and missed 2 free throws as well. Gershon Yabusele only played 2 minutes, right? We'll talk about his tweet and his impending, trade that's going to be coming up. But yeah, Mikal Bridges, 3 of 16, Cat, yeah, and Deuce McBride just didn't have it going. But on the plus, Landry Shamet, 4 of 9 and 3 of 7 from downtown, right? Erasing Jordan Clarkson from the rotation, man. In the nick of time, Landry Shamet has become healthy and he's become a major contributor, man. All the coaches seem to love Landry Shamet. He drew an offensive foul, fighting over a Joel Embiid pick, or I think it might have been a Dembona. But yeah, that play will go under the radar. That changed the momentum as well. Shout out to Landry Shamet for his tenacious defense, fighting over screens and getting the call overturned in that one, as the Knicks were down at the half. And usually our third quarter is the worst, right? But today we saved the best for the third quarter. Coincidentally, when Karl Anthony Towns went to the bench, right, and our defense stepped up too, as well as having a spring in his step, was OG Anunoby. I think OG, when he's locked in and he's getting more touches, you notice how more aggressive he is on offense and defense, fam. I really like what I saw from OG on the offensive side. Saw the Rook VJ edge come there, put him in the spin cycle, and you see the Knicks bench get up for that one. And love that play from OG Anunoby. Next up, this is a great heady play from Deuce McBride on the defensive side, skied up, and Brunson and OG play the two-man game, right? So you notice all these highlights, man. We're getting stops, we're playing defense, and we're turning that into offense as well. We'll take a look at our transition fast break buckets. But yeah, the Knicks outdueled Philadelphia in the second half, and we almost threw it away through the lack of execution, but we did the heavy lifting when it counted, fam, as well. Despite getting nothing from Cat, nothing from Mikal Bridges, and not too much from Deuce on the offensive side. So that is positive, with Hart and Mitch stepping up to being a game changer, fam, as well. Jose Alvarado trade heating up, CT, says Michael Drake. Yeah, look, no Clarkson, no Kolek. I think that's a fair, reason in terms of why late. We struggle handling the rock as well. Brunson was tired. This was a fast-paced game, man. I think bringing another pest, Jose Alvarado, will help this team out. Now, yeah, he's undersized, and I know ideally, everyone's looking to bring in some more size at the wing. We'll see what happens with the Spurs and Jeremy Sohan. That's a name to look out for. The Knicks are interested in Najee Marshall as well. Maybe Leon Rose can get us a couple of pieces, right? Does he trade or does he cut Clarkson? Can he bring in Jose Alvarado, Yves Missy, and Jeremy Sohan, or another wing, fam? If he can bring in 2 or 3 pieces, I think that would be excellent. That's what I'm looking for, fam. Missy, Alvarado, and Sohan, or Najee Marshall. Sadiq Bey's unlikely, I feel, unless we can get into a bigger multi-team trade. But yeah, Shez V says, what an off night from Mikal. Dude, yeah, considering it's back in Philly, where he's from, and obviously his mum worked for the organization, drafted by Philly and then traded. I think, yeah, Mikal was in his own head tonight. He was rushing it, definitely. But look, it had a playoff vibe, intensity, and we did well just to hang around in the first half because we weren't getting stops, but we were hitting some shots as well. Jose Salute says, yeah, if we play D like this, this can be that result. A Knicks win. Let's go, Knicks. Streets are buzzing. You said it, man. Defensively, Mitch is a game changer. But credit to Mike Brown. He made good adjustments. I think the rotations were really good. I think the help defense, came at the right time. And look, when you see Hart knock down threes like this, Philly had to go zone from time to time because they just couldn't deal with the Knicks getting loose. OG was knocking threes down early, so was Hart. Even Cat. Cat did knock down his first 3, and I think that did set the tone. But we were trading baskets. Like Jose says, man, it's not until our defense really stepped up that changed the ball game, and we held Philly to just 13 points at home in the third quarter. I think Philly were sleepwalking out of halftime, and the Knicks capitalized, man. They show that energy too. And yeah, I love Sham saying, I'm back. I'm effing back. You see Shamet, he's hype. He's happy to be back with the squad. We'll see what happens with with Jordan Clarkson, man. We'll see if we can get some post-game quotes, He spoke to Christian Winfield of the Daily News, after the last game being benched today. We know Clarkson, he's going to be a good locker room guy still, but he's frustrated now that he's not getting minutes. We'll see if he ends up getting traded, right? Another salary that the Knicks could put out there if they're not going to play Clarkson. I would like to keep Clarkson around because you just never know. We need another gunner out here, fam. And we'll talk about that moving forward tonight, guys. We're not done talking about this game yet, but there was a big news drop, right, earlier today from Mark Stein, right, regarding the Knicks and Giannis, right? You want to listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, right? So the Knicks' best chance to get Giannis is obviously a multi-team trade. And there is absolutely a down the road scenario where the Blazers would try to get into a Milwaukee Knicks trade talk if Giannis to the Knicks got serious, reports Mark Stein. He says, file this away as well. League sources say Portland have had a long admiration for New York's Mikal Bridges, going back to Lillard's first stint as a Blazer fan. So that reports Mark Stein, right? If the Knicks and Giannis and the Bucks talk get serious, the Blazers have interest in Mikal Bridges, right? What makes this thing even more interesting, guys, is that the Portland Trail Blazers own the Milwaukee Bucks draft picks as well. So if Mikal Bridges was to go to Portland, they could free up some of the first round picks going to Milwaukee, right, and get their picks back. We know the frustration, man, is boiling over in Milwaukee right now, man. Any day now, it could explode with the Greek Freak, man, right? Experiencing a calf strain now, set to be out for up to 4 to 6 weeks. Potentially, he might have played his last game as a Milwaukee Buck, right? He might have kind of not quit on the team, but it might have just been a little graceful exit, saying, look, I'm done, possibly. Let's see what happens, man. This trade deadline is going to be insane, right? Tendrell, salute. D. Grant says going to have to cut Clarkson to do something with Yabu. Yeah, I think the thing is the way it might play out, fam, and we'll talk about, the realistic move of Yves Missy, Jose Alvarado, and possibly another wing. But the Knicks have second rounders, fam. Now, I see a lot of people talk about, they're hesitant to give up too much, right? But if you can get back some pieces that the Knicks need and give up, second rounders, right? Obviously, hopefully not more than one, but we'll see how that plays out. If needed, the Knicks do have a lot of seconds to make, to grease the wheels in terms of, a deal. Michael says, CT, a lot of fans in Philly. Yeah, man, it was, amazing energy. And shout out to the Knicks fans making the trip down there. Obviously, a cheaper ticket and good vibes as well. This is one of Cat's good plays earlier. We're looking at early in the game now. Mikal Bridges cutting back door as well. But that was short-lived. The other guy stepped up late to close this one out. Like I said earlier, Cat spacing the floor out, popping this one on Embiid. This was the first bucket of the night. And I think that this kind of did set the tone in a way. But we'll go back to the fourth quarter and the third quarter in a minute. But for those that missed it, yesterday, Pacome Dardier and the other guys got sent down to the G League. Pacome Dardier had his best performance on the season, 26 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 3-pointers made. So hopefully other GMs standing up and paying attention. Does look like Dardier, Yabusele, and maybe a second-round pick could be enough to get not only Alvarado or another guy, but also Yves Missy, a defensive, springy backup center who's raw, but does have defensive traits and defensive tools as well. Kevin McCullough had a great game in the G as well. Maybe the Knicks look to move him onto a regular roster spot, right? We'll see what plays out too. That was last night. I think Westchester played also tonight too. But the Knicks get the win, 109-112, right, in a tight closeout game as the New York Knicks won it on the road, right? Now, we have a couple of days rest again. So we'll take a look at the standings, man. Continue to shout you guys out. We'll look at the road ahead. The Knicks have 2 days off before tonight, and we have another 2 days off. Back to New York City for a back-to-back. Sacramento at home, and then the Raptors in Toronto, and then a day off, and then Portland come into MSG as well. So that could be interesting. We know when GMs come into your building, it's easier to have conversations, right? What do you guys think about the Steinlein report that the Blazers like Mikal Bridges, right? And they have Milwaukee's draft picks as well from the Drew Holiday situation, Anthony Simons deal, I believe earlier, to take on Drew Holiday's contract, Damian Lillard going back as well. uh, Yeah, Clarkson's been hit and miss, guys, and I think he's solid for end of the bench. I do think it's an upgrade over campaign, but we'll see if he can help us get another piece. Then I don't think we'll miss him too much if we can bring in a adequate replacement. Altanga says Knicks fans deep in Belltown. Absolutely, Mark says Cat have to stop with the bad fouls. At this point, he's just not a defender, that can stay in front of guys. He's got to be more disciplined as well, and he's too handsy. You see Huck Porty with his hands back at Cat. I know he can't move his feet as well because he's got huge feet and a high center of gravity as well. But Cat just has to be more disciplined. I feel with the hands. That's the biggest issue, man. Especially on the offensive end with the hook. He's constantly trying to hook the defender, and I know he's getting bumped as well, but he's just not getting those calls, and it's really hurting him, man. He's leading the league in offensive fouls, and tonight he fouls out from defensive fouls as well. So it is tough, right? But the blueprint we know defensively, our best lineup is with Mitch, right? Good to see Huck Porty give us something as well when we need in a pinch, right? That is what a third string big man is for, you know? We might not need him to play 15 minutes, even if he needs to come in for a couple of possessions. This is how it's going to be in the playoffs, fam. Mitch can't play 38. Cat is usually in foul trouble. So that's why go get me an Eves Missy, Leon Rose. I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. It's important we get in another big man. Right. Even if you keep Akpority, I think we need that extra big man just for insurance purposes. Obviously, a wing would be nice and another ball handler. Um, I don't know what's up with the Kolek experiment now. We talked about Clarkson. I think it's been a quick hook with Kolek. Yes, he's sort of come down from the heights of the NBA Cup, Christmas Day, and that kind of Kolek sanity of 2 weeks. But I don't think the man's unplayable. Like you got to keep the young man's confidence, and see if you can keep him out there, even if you lower the minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel, but I do think Clarkson being altogether pulled from the rotation is a little premature. I know Landry's come back, so I get it. But Kolek as well. Do you pull both of those guys from the rotation? I don't know, man. We gassed out late. You saw the guys ball handlers and the lack of execution late. Hopefully Alvarado or someone is coming in, man. I would love Mike Brown to stick with the young man Kolek, even if you got to lower his minutes a bit, because look, there's still 35 games remaining at least, and we saw Kolek rise ascendancy earlier in the season in a short span. Give him another 35 games of experience. I think that's going to be helpful. But obviously, defensively, Alvarado would be more of an upgrade. Fam. Trey Jam, yeah, Michael Drake, great spot. Trey is on a two-way, so I think the Knicks are careful what they're doing. But I think he might be a guy for the future as well. Trey Jemison, we know, is playing with the Westchester Knicks on the two-way too. Mark says Cat have to talk to Embiid on how to draw those fouls. Yeah, look, all you got to do is watch the film too. D Grant says, CT, I'm not sure if Cat can change. Been doing the same thing for 10 years. Yeah, I think what's confounding it, fam, is the frustrations on the offensive end are creaking in and making his defense worse because, and he does have a legit gripe on the most time on the offensive side. Cat is getting hit and he's not getting fouls. And then on the other end, he's just trying to spaz out and, make a point to the referees. But that's where the coaching needs to come in, bench him, settle him down, take a deep breath, and then get him back out there, I think, as well. If you notice Cat, man, all those fouls come in a short span. Like, he might go 10 minutes with no foul, and then he'll go 3 minutes with 3 fouls. And all of a sudden, it's like, man, what can you do? He's got to be benched. Thank God we have a guy like Huck Porty. Last year, it would have been Precious or Jericho Sims or someone else. Not a traditional big man. At least Huck Porty was able to come out there and throw his weight around, right? Now, next up, we're ringing in a super chat. AP got the streets buzzing, right? For the $5 super chat. Appreciate you for the contributions, man. AP says, CT, Macau Bridges for who? Do I need to call the cab to LaGuardia Airport? Look, I think in a Giannis deal, it's plausible. Anything outside of a Giannis deal, I can't see the Knicks giving up on Macau. He's beloved by the organization. He's a good locker room guy, man. He's a good kid still, man. Well, he's not really a kid, but, Macau's a good dude. He really is. It's just, the inconsistencies are frustrating. The good are really good. The bad are really, really bad. He was rushing shots tonight. But yeah, as I spoke on earlier, fam, a report out of Mark Stein, the Stein line, reports that the Blazers have long-standing interest in Macau Bridges. And down the line, should the Knicks and Bucks get close to a Giannis deal, the Blazers look out for them to potentially jump in as a third team, right? You heard it here, ladies and gentlemen. If the Knicks want to keep OG Anunoby and the Bucks want more draft picks, maybe Macau goes to a third team, Cat goes to the Bucks, and maybe obviously the picks, because the Blazers can unlock the Milwaukee Bucks first round draft picks, which would help the Knicks out a lot, right? So don't sweat it. If the Knicks don't have enough draft picks, they do have some assets that can, I think, free up some draft picks too, right? We just got to make sure that Giannis does what he needs to do, man. Force that issue right now, man. Don't waste the season with the Bucks. Greek freak, fam, come on over. But let's see what happens, man. Dolan, Leon Rose, the organizations poured a lot of cold water on a blockbuster deal, right? Obviously, fair enough. They don't want the locker room being unsettled, fam. It's not 101, practice from a front office, right? When reports start coming out, man, all over the place about potential shakeups and blockbusters, right? These guys are human. They hear the noise. And obviously, the organization has tried to quiet that down and pour some cold water on it. But obviously, if Giannis and that thing can become legit, right, we know that things are going to heat up, right? We know that things are going to heat up. But again, look, we don't know. Giannis is injured now. And so there's a lot of water to still go under the bridge. I think Giannis could be out 4 to 6 now. That's going to go beyond the trade deadline. So I don't think Giannis is going to play another game. Well, it's safe to say Giannis is not going to play another game until at least the trade deadline is shut on February 5th. Giannis has picked up a calf injury, and it looks like he's going to be out for at least a couple of weeks. The trade deadline is just over a week away, too, fam. And so AP's asking, what do we get from Portland, fam? We don't get nothing from Portland, man. They'll be in a 3-team deal for the Giannis deal. So Knicks would get Giannis, obviously, and the Bucks would send picks to Milwaukee. The Knicks would most likely send Cat, and the Blazers would get Macau, in theory, fam. And again, I'm not reporting this. This doesn't, well, it's been reported by Mark Stein. So That is where it's at, fam. And again, we don't want nothing from Portland, man. We want Portland to help the Bucks out while we take Giannis. Uh, D Grant says, I think the Bucks get Cat if not, if they not going to give him an extension. And again, yeah, El Tango's asking who's on Portland that we can get. Yeah, nothing, man. We don't want Portland, fam. It's in a 3-team trade from the Milwaukee Bucks, right? We want Giannis. We don't want nothing from Portland, fam. It's a 3-team trade, ladies and gentlemen. So there'd probably be a salary filler in the way of, Jeremy Grant or Drew Holiday maybe going somewhere. Obviously for Mikal, but we'll see how that plays out. But look, back to tonight, man. The win column is important now. We're going to pull up the action from around today, and the Knicks pulling out the win. The Hornets are starting to roll now, so maybe they don't, entertain any major move, right? Now we have some games kicking off, right, in half an hour. But with the Knicks pulling out this win, they'll go to 27-18, and they move back into that third spot, right? So that is huge for the New York Knicks to get back into that third spot, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly what we need, right? Now we fell down to the 4th spot last night, and you see how close it is, man. Literally, they are locked at a tie, and I think the Knicks have the current tiebreaker over the Raptors, fam. But we will face the Raptors on Wednesday next week, and that is in Toronto. So that is going to be a huge swing in the standings, right? Look how close it is, man. You see Cavaliers in 5th. They're only a game and a half back now. And today's win over Philadelphia is not only big for the season series against them, but they will move now 2.5 back over the New York Knicks, right? So this loss that we've given Philadelphia, man, was big time. If they beat us, they would have pulled within 1. Now we are 2.5 games ahead of Philly, fam. We don't want to be anywhere near the 5th or 6th spot, anywhere near the play-in, right? We need home court advantage, and we keep touch with just 1.5 back of the Boston Celtics, man. Now, I was hate watching last night because the Boston Celtics and the Brooklyn Nets went to double OT, right? I couldn't believe my eyes. Brooklyn took Boston to double OT last night, but the Boston Celtics pulled it out late, right? They were playing all their main guys. Brooklyn somehow, scrapped it. And with that said, I do think, man, we've got more games against Boston coming up, and we have a chance to, flip the script and catch up those 2.5 games over the Boston Celtics, right? It's just 1.5 games now. Now, Boston, I think, will play today. They'll play the Chicago Bulls. So we'll see how that plays out. They'll play the Chicago Bulls on the road at the United Center. So hopefully the Bulls can get a dub, man, and the Knicks can get closer. But now the Knicks will have 2 days rest, fam. We're back to New York City. So that is really, really, really key for us, right, and getting some rest. Now, no one on the injury report tonight, so that's a positive. And we'll see how that plays out. Mark says, do you really want to give up Cat and Bridges for Giannis? You kind of got to for the salaries. I'm not saying that I want to, but yeah, the Bucks were never going to give Cat, the Bucks were never going to trade Giannis for Cat straight up. It was always going to be Cat and OG or Cat Mikal, and the Knicks obviously get Giannis and they get more, whether it be Kyle Kuzma, Bobby Portis, Miles Turner. The Knicks will get more than just Giannis, but the Knicks got to give up more than Cat in terms of salary just to get Giannis, because the Bucks, I don't think, are gonna, the Blazers won't help the Knicks out with picks if they're not getting Mikal, and we don't have enough picks to satisfy Milwaukee either. So yeah, it is a tricky situation. I do expect more than just Cat, I think, to be on the move if Giannis comes into the building. But yeah, look, I don't hesitate to do it. Some people might be different. It ain't like Cat and McCall are playing lockdown defense. I get fans might be a little bit hesitant to give up too much, but if you can keep OG Anunoby, you keep Josh Hart, you see what else you pick up in the deal. You're getting, an all defensive player in Giannis as well, one of the top 5 players in the league. I mean, guys, you got to give up to get. You're not getting a top 5 player in the league without giving up stuff. And you see tonight, Macau 3 of 16. We should be thankful if someone wants to take him, and help us in a deal. And obviously, Karl Anthony Towns is the salary too. Fouls out tonight. He was a non-factor as well. Too. You take the corpse of Giannis, I think, over some of these guys in terms of just a competitive standpoint, and a tenacity as well. I know there's injury concerns with Giannis too, but I think that's just what you get. You got to roll the dice. Giannis is still only 30, 31. I still think he's got 4 good years left. Playing with a guy like Brunson, I think will help Giannis out a lot because the Bucks don't have a ball handler to the quality of Brunson. Giannis is having to do a lot in terms of the offensive load. I think with the Blazers, with the Bucks, too. So we'll see how it plays out. Yeah, congrats to Derrick Rose. Great shout to AP having his jersey retired. Too. Mark's not a fan of the Giannis deal. That's fair enough. You believe in the team, man. I salute you for that. Michael Drake as well. Okay, so we've got a lot of people wanting to keep this thing together. I just think we've seen a big enough sample in terms of our team's weakness, and Giannis is just too game changing, I think, to pass up on if you can get him. I don't want to look back in years saying we missed our chance because we didn't want to get a top 5 player in the league. Now, there's always going to be risks. We had to give up a lot to get Carmelo. We gave up a lot to get Cat. Julius and Dante. Ideally, you want to get your players how we got Brunson. Just steal them away as a free agent. Is Giannis prepared to play out all of next season and waste a season in his prime in Milwaukee to become a free agent? That's highly, highly unlikely. I think you are going to have to pull off a trade. Look, I won't lie. Detroit and Boston scare me to a degree. I think we can get to the finals the way we're currently constructed. I'm not giving up on the ceiling of this current team. I just think the Boston Celtics, if they get Tatum, and the Detroit Pistons are a bad matchup. It could be a coin flip, in a Eastern Conference semi-finals or conference finals, but I do think it's going to be a coin flip, man. You see this cardiac team, we struggle to close games out, late, especially when we're tired. We capitulated against Indiana in game 1 in the third round. A lot of our guys were tired, I think, at that point. I don't think that gets spoken of enough as well. I think to counteract that, Mike Brown's going to have to go 10-man if he does want to play at a faster speed, too. D. Grant says CT, after today, I can guarantee you Cat is going to get traded. Leon is not going to give him an extension, and I think Cat checking out on the Knicks. I think there's a whole heap of challenges. I think Mike Brown and Cat. I think Leon loves Cat. Cat loves Leon. Cat loves being here. I think last year you saw Cat, work together well with Tibbs. I do think for whatever reason it's a Cat and Mike Brown system sort of frustration as well. We see Dolan show a lot of support for this current team. Cat is Leon Rose's guy as well. So I agree with what you're saying, D. I feel like the biggest reason Cat will get traded is the Giannis thing. If we can't get Giannis, I think Cat will stay. It's as simple as that. I think the organization standpoint, we like Cat still as an organization, front office ownership. It's the coach that has some issues, I think, with Cat, sloppiness. Um, we know Mike Brown's from a very, military regimented background. He's coached Steph, he's coached LeBron, he's coached Kobe, um, he's coached Draymond. Mike Brown doesn't quite, I think, gel with Cat for whatever reason. But yeah, I do think as an organization we're okay keeping Cat and try to make it work. Maybe the Giannis thing is addressed on draft night in the summer, but I tell you what, though, it's getting so turbulent in Milwaukee that I think chance there's a massive chance that that Giannis does get traded, by the deadline now. The vibes are so down, man. You saw the video. He's not even looking in the huddles with Doc Rivers, fam, as well. Inconsolable, picking up that injury. On that front, Mark says, I think Giannis faking that injury too. Yeah, it could be a bit of that, It could be maybe he felt something and just doesn't want to give it a go as well. Maybe he feels like the team's kind of quit on him. Now he's kind of quit on the team. Johnny Chiba, salute. Great to see you. NYC, great to see you. Says Giannis does not want to waste any seasons. He seems ready to be traded, taking it day to day. Yeah, we've seen this situation with us, when you have a superstar and they're giving it their all, laying it all out there. And you just kind of feel for them because no one wants to be in that situation, man. We had that with Carmelo, Stoudemire as well, when the pieces around them just weren't good enough, man. Patrick Ewing, one of the reasons Pat is a legend for me, because he just never quit. He had role players and he had grittiness around him, but Patrick Ewing, he had a lack of talent, just a skill talent around him, but he never quit. You see Giannis, he brought them a chip. He owes the city nothing, man. He owes the organization nothing, because against all odds, he brought that city a chip, and it's time to move on. I think, 31, he's still got plenty of time in the next chapter of his career. Drafted as a scrawny, raw prospect out of Greece. No one thought, I think as the 13th pick, no one thought Giannis would become an MVP, let alone a champion. And you see Mitch lock down Joel Embiid as well. Think of some lineups we could play with Mitch and Giannis. Man, that would be crazy from a defensive standpoint. But the biggest story out of tonight, fam, is Mitchell Robinson looking very healthy. 26 minutes. Now, next super chat, AP is absolutely buzzing. Lakers paid low for Luka. Why do we have to overpay? Great question, man. You're on the money, and I feel like it's just a matter of, circumstance. Which GM, which front office can you take advantage of? For whatever reason, man, Harrison in Dallas was desperate. He had a falling out with Luka. I think he had an issue with Luka's work ethic. Was out of shape, always picking up some injuries. But he sold low, right? Even if you're down on your star, you don't sell low. Which is why I still believe Karl Anthony Towns has decent value in a trade. Decent, not great, but I still think there's some teams out there that are going to be desperate enough and want to compete still and don't want to bottom out. Now, with respect to teams that don't want to bottom out, they need a star name. The Chicago Bulls might be interested in Cat, to be competitive, to sell tickets. You see the Blazers, they're kind of over their rebuild, but they're still wanting to bring in some veterans, like potentially Bridges. The Pelicans are on the way up now. Charlotte is on the way up. It's really only the Utah Jazz and the Brooklyn Nets and the Washington Wizards that are really, really trying to tank, fam. Yeah, I think on the front, on your question and why do we have to overpay, I don't think we will. I think Leon and Dolan coming out saying, no, we're not going to trade no one, that is smart. Because deep down in their mind, even if they believe that they would trade for Giannis, right, the whole world doesn't need to know, right? We don't want to, lower our trade value, guys. We don't want to sell our guys short, fam. So look for all this talk in the media. It's just basically, you know, leverage, man. It's a leverage play. It's like, no, we're happy with our team. We ain't trading Cat. Best believe if Milwaukee comes calling with Giannis, best believe we would come to the table. But we don't need the whole world to know that right now because we got guys in our locker room that are competing. We're trying to keep this train on the track and contend for a chip. Um, AP says, yeah, Giannis could go anywhere like Brooklyn when he becomes a free agent. I think thankfully he's got one more year to go, and the Bucks are never going to let him go for nothing. That's their entire franchise right there. So I do think that the Bucks, will be looking to restock and build for their future. We'll see what they can get. Another reason it might happen on draft night, the Knicks will have another pick that they can unlock, and also we have our own first round pick. If we draft a player, we could potentially trade that player as well. So the Knicks could do more pick swaps as well. So yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, on Ed, salute Johnny Chiba talking about Cat and the frustrations and his deficiencies. I feel like Cat's value on this current team, right? If he's not being utilized and he's not engaged and not having fun, that's when you start to see more of those frustrations creep in. And look, there's some blame to go around. Not name Cat. I think Brunson and Cat just aren't a good fit. I think fans have been hoping now that we would see a good two-man game, and it's been over a year and a half now. We haven't seen the two-man game with Karl Anthony Towns or Brunson, with Tibbs and Mike Brown coaching. So that's 2 seasons and 2 coaches, and Brunson and Cat do not play a good two-man game, right? And there is some blame to go around on Brunson and the other guys, the coaches. But at this point, we might just be able to say that it's not a good fit. Maybe Cat's in his mind is right in terms of he needs his own team. He needs the offense focalized around him, like 100% run the offense run through Cat, like you see here. Cat can run offense at the top. Brunson, the ball is sticky with JB. And I just don't think they're a good fit. And we haven't even talked about defense, man. You don't even need another reason to talk about why they might not be a great fit. Just from a defensive standpoint, Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson gives the opponent too much to focus on and pick apart in the postseason, fam. Notice we made our run when Karl Anthony Towns went to the bench, right? With Brunson and 4 other defensive players, we made a run, and you can win that way. If it's Cat and 4 other defenders, we usually make a run. But when you put Brunson and Cat together, we're kind of treading water, man. Trying to keep up just by hitting shots. We weren't able to get no stops. Yo Alpha salute. G Money salute. Huge dub. We needed it. G Money, and definitely for the season series as well. New York City says, not to mention, Cat was ranked 7th in East All-Star voting. Very good big man passing skills. Yeah, I think we've seen so many flashes. I've been waiting for this team to just put it all together, but I just starting to really feel like Brunson and Cat don't work well together. And I do think Mike Brown isn't getting the best out of the team in that combination. Now, obviously, today was one of Cat's worst performances. It's hard to keep a guy on the floor when he's constantly, fouling out and giving up fouls. We had a big report from Ian Begley, fam, the other day that after doing some digging around with the Knicks struggling before tonight, a common theme that was coming up was some of the Knicks haven't been buying in to Mike Brown's we over me system, right? And I'm going to speculate without this report mentioning names. I do think it's either Cat or Cat and OG Anunoby, wanting more, focus on the offense, fam. So some of the Knicks aren't buying in to the we over me concept. And I do think one of them's Cat. He wants more touches. He wants more of the offense. And obviously I do think OG Anunoby is more engaged when he's getting more touches as well. So that's the dilemma, fam. I think that's probably our biggest dilemma right now. The other one is ball handling. Hopefully we can address that with an Alvarado or someone at the deadline. Hopefully we can bring in an Eves Missy as a nice insurance backup. Whether we keep Cat or not, that gives us a lot more defensive flexibility. Mitch was amazing in 26 minutes, but what are we going to do for the other minutes, right? Is Cat going to continue to play the 5? Are we hoping to bring in an Eves Missy or someone else and play Cat more at the 4 as well? I'll say it again. Solid showing from the Huck man. I think it's solid 4 minutes. Considering he hasn't been in the rotation, I think Huck gave us some solid minutes as well. Salute to Glenn Jones in the building. Great to see you. Now I'm going to dial up some quotes and find out who was defensive player of the game, fam, from the Knicks locker room, right? But yeah, we talked about a report from Mark Stein about the Blazers, right, potentially helping the Knicks in a Bucks 3-way trade. So the Blazers own Milwaukee's first round picks in 28, 29, and 30. Right. That's 3 years in a row the Blazers own the Milwaukee Bucks pick. So they could definitely be a team that could help. Right. So that is something to definitely keep an eye out on, right, in the future. Right. Now I'm going to pull up the Knicks account. No doubt Mitchell Robinson should have got defensive player of the game. And yes, sir, he certainly did. Right. We're going to pull that up and some more of the highlights too. Keep it locked in, fam. Saturday night, no minutes restriction tonight. Give us any questions. Continue to give us your thoughts on this Knicks situation now. Right, a much needed win now. That's 2 in a row. After a catastrophic stretch of 9 losses in 11, the Knicks have steadied the ship now with 2 wins in a row, and we get 2 more days off. So what do you know it, fam? We had a really tough schedule in terms of frequency and teams that we were playing. Now we had 2 days off before tonight. We get another 2 days off. And hopefully these guys can figure it out. Especially closing games out, man. With 2 days rest, man, if I'm Mike Brown, I'm saying, cool. Let's have a late practice tomorrow. But let's do free throws. Let's do some inbound late game execution. And let's get those free throws up tomorrow, man. Today was despicable from the free throw line, missing 12, 15 out of 27 from the free throw line. Okay, we've got some trolling in the chat. See you later. New York Knicks put the beat down on Philly. Feels good. Russell's in the building. Salute. Yeah, I agree, man. We need another big man. And by Mitch being this dominant just shows how important that spot is, rebounding, locking down the paint, and giving us second chance points. But my biggest thing is Mitch looked healthy, man, tonight. He was moving well, and he was disciplined. A much-needed bounce back, compared to the last game where Philly got the dub as well. Is it Senior Cruz? Salutes in the building. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the Knicks mentality, right? Teams are getting up, right? Playing at Madison Square Garden, and the reverse is getting up. We're getting up on the road. Now, Brunson likes playing on the road more than at home. To me, that's good, but a concern from the home standpoint, right? I think we are a little soft still playing at Madison Square Garden. Dallas coming in, Philly came in and beat us last time. The Rockets, Phoenix with Devin Booker. I'm sick of these, especially these no names coming in to Madison Square Garden and having a party, right? If we're to win a championship, we need to correct that, because I could tell you what might happen in the playoffs, fam. We might get home court advantage and then give it right back up. And then we'll go to the road and we'll pick up a win. We're going to have to try to pick up a win on the road. And so we're going to have to start playing better at Madison Square Garden, in my opinion, fam, because I do think that we can kind of lock in on the road, but we're too weak mentally in terms of MSG and letting these teams get loose. You see the conviction that Dallas came in playing at MSG with Najee Marshall, Brandon Williams, Cooper Flagg getting downhill. We were soft that night, and we were soft against Phoenix too. We were soft against Philly the last time they beat us too. But obviously on the road, we don't have that pressure, of the crowd, and we're able to lock in, I think, on a bigger level. Yeah, I think with Embiid, man, he was a joke early. He was getting to the line. He was getting to the line way too easily, right? The refs were bailing him out. Chris, 100%, man. Mitch wasn't falling for the pump fakes like he did last game. Yeah, man, he knew the team needed him because Cat was already in foul trouble. And yeah, he stayed disciplined with that. Now see if I can get some quotes from Mike Brown. Right, let me pull up SNY. Shout out to everyone in the building, man. Knicks get 2 wins in a row. Hit that like button. And hopefully now we can get on a run. Right, especially we have some rest coming up. That is critical too. Players know they might get traded, so they're starting to lock in more. Right. What do you know it? Joel Embiid in that locker room talking about he thought he got fouled, right, late in the game. He thought he got fouled. Right, I'm going to pull up those quotes from the nemesis, Embiid, man. Went quiet late because of Mitch putting him on lockdown, right? Here we go. Embiid. Look at him there, man. Knicks got the last laugh. Shout out to Mitch for winning that matchup late, especially with Embiid slowing down. Embiid believes he was fouled in the final seconds of today's game, man. Hey, who wasn't fouled, man? The refs lost control of this one. It was out of control with this one. OG Anunoby, man, welcome back. Right, at least one half of Wingstop showed up, man, because Philly Arena was getting free Chick-fil-A in this one. Yep, loving you guys' reactions to this one. There is some frustrations with Cat's performance, but Cat is an important part of our team in terms of the salaries getting paid and his ability to, score the basketball from a buckets perspective. But yeah, defensively, we are better with him either at the 4 or off the court, and I think that's a whole lot of sort of rigidity that the Knicks have to work around. I think right now. Look, Tibbs, man, Tibbs in the playoffs had a lot of issues, but he still did a hell of a job, did Thibodeau and the team getting all the way to the 3rd round, right? Considering Brunson and Cat are not good defenders, I think you got to find a way to split their minutes. They should do start more. You sub Mitch and you sub, Brunson and Cat in and out and stagger their minutes. I think that's our best chance, man. I'll tell you what, man, if we do get Alvarado, that's going to be exciting because, he's going to get the crowd fired up. He's going to get the crowd into it. We needed a guy that can pick up full court, a guy that could be a pest and get into the grill of the other teams, right? That's what we really need. And I think that's really important too, right? To make them feel our pressure. With that said, man, today, man, took me back to Knicks basketball. That third quarter was shades of the Dante Randall, Isaiah squad, in my opinion, right? Tyrese Maxey here says, I should have just took one more dribble and shot it regular. Too. So he's frustrated with his own decision, fam, late. And that was because the Knicks pressure and the Knicks defense was where you want it to be, right? Also, the Knicks Landry was fouling, right? As Nick Nurse says, usually when you're up 3 and you need a 3, teams are going to foul, but they didn't. Well, we did, but the refs were bugging, man. I mean, Tony Brothers, man. Tony Brothers is wildin' out there, man. His kind of crew, man, they go loose and then they tighten it up crazy, and then some of their challenge decisions just make no sense as well. Also, I do think they missed that on a major level, right? I think Mitch was pointing and Landry was fouling Tyrese Maxey on the floor as he was coming off the curl, and they still weren't. They still allowed Tyrese to get the the 3 up. I was screaming, man, foul, foul. But yeah, we dodged a bullet with that one, fam. So yeah, Mitchell Robinson racking up defensive player of the games, but not only that, man. Our Mitchie, man, second round homegrown pick, pulls out the game ball with 10 rebounds, right? Now we have to look at the stats, man. We're buzzing so much. We're an hour in. We haven't looked at the stats, right? The Knicks won the rebounding 64-46, right? That is a complete beatdown and domination, man, against a team that was playing 2 bigs as well. For whatever reason, thank God Andre Drummond wasn't in this one, man, because the Knicks took advantage, as I said earlier, fam, with Adem Bona. Struggle towns tonight. Johnny Chiba says Giannis needs a point guard like JB to break him out into that master universe. Yeah, I said it earlier. I think Brunson and Giannis would be a good fit, in terms of just play style. Giannis can handle the ball. Brunson's good playing off ball, and then obviously Giannis has never played with a ball dominant scorer in his prime to the level of Brunson. Obviously Dame later in his career, Drew Holiday, not too much of an offensive, minded player, but that would take pressure off of Giannis. But look, Giannis is getting older now. We know Father Time is undefeated right now, and I think both stars, the time is now for Brunson and Giannis to go, to get that chip right before they hit, later into their 30s. I think that's going to be key to winning the chip in the next 2 years, right? These younger teams, man, they're coming up crazy. The Rockets, the Spurs, some teams out east, man, especially after this draft, right? If a team like Detroit get lucky in the draft, or if a team like Atlanta, who have the Pelicans' first round pick, right, that could be scary in a couple of years. So the Knicks ball movement was key, 27 dimes, just 10 turnovers too. So salute to that. The Knicks have been averaging over 12, 15 turnovers recently. We lowered that down to 10. We forced 13 turnovers tonight. A little funky from the field, 44%, but 34% from downtown was better than Philadelphia. But look at the second chance points. The second chance points, ladies and gentlemen, was buzzing. Right? 26-4. Right? that's outscored by 22 points from second chance points, right? Fast break points were closer. Philadelphia 16-10, and Philadelphia won points in the paint. But I think the Knicks knocking down some late threes was the catalyst. And I think I was hearing from Philadelphia guys as well. I think they started too slow on offense, and they were running it through Embiid in the third quarter, and they were too methodical trying to get the ball to Embiid, and it slowed down their offense. Right? If y'all notice, VJ Edgecombe, man, was a no-show. Like VJ Edgecombe killed the Knicks at Madison Square Garden when he was a focal point. Now, I know Embiid had 28 at the half, and Philadelphia wanted to continue to, let him dominate, but it killed their offense. Like, it played into the Knicks' hands, just trying to go to Embiid, right? Now, what's the Knicks' weakness? Is speed. Maxi and VJ coming off the picks. That's where it's dangerous for us. If they're dumping it down to Embiid and slowing it up, that played into our hands tonight, fam. As the Knicks in the third quarter, they smelled that blood, right? And they took advantage, right? With Mitchell Robinson winning the game ball, right? Now, I've got to give Mike Brown some credit because look, it's been a tough times recently. 9 losses out of 11, right? But 2 wins on the bounce now, and he's made some tough calls, right? He's taken Clarkson out of the rotation. That's improved our defense. He's taken Tyler Kolek out of the rotation, and that's helped our defense, right? Now, I don't think this is going to work out long term because we need another guy in the rotation, but he might just be buying time until the trade deadline, fam. Looks like Clarkson might be out of here. Yabusele, 2 minutes tonight. He'll be out of the rotation or out of here very soon. And if the Knicks can pick up 1 or 2 more rotation pieces that can defend, I think that's going to be excellent, especially if it is, some guys with tenacity like Alvarado or Yves Missy. And I wouldn't mind an offensive-minded wing like a Najee Marshall too. If we can get Missy, Alvarado, and Najee Marshall, man, no complaints for Leon for the rest of the season. Even I like Sohan. I like the fit. I know Sohan's got some challenges offensively. His ruggedness, size, and tenacity on defense, I think, would be a quality fit. There's talk that, Yabu could be headed to San Antonio. His relationship with Victor Wembanyama is good, is tight from the France national team. Maybe you throw in another Frenchman, Pacome Dardier. Hey, that's going to feel good for Victor Wembanyama, right? Maybe the Spurs are playing 4D chess in terms of getting Wembanyama, 2 more Frenchmen, and they move off of Jeremy Sohan, who's out of their rotation right now. That could be one avenue for the New York Knicks. Clarkson killed the Spurs in the NBA Cup. I think he's killed them in both games. So maybe the Spurs have an interest in Jordan Clarkson as well. Right? There's possibilities. So look, if I had to bet on it, I do think that deal with New Orleans Pelicans is more likely. But if there's a second team that Yabu could be on, I would say it's going to be the Spurs, fam. Right? I'm going to say it's going to be the Spurs, fam. And another coincidence is both teams are out west. Fam. A team loves to trade or prefers to trade with a team in the other conference, right? Not to say we're helping out any other team by giving them Yabu, but you just want to trade. You don't want to trade with a team in your own conference, fam, right now. So the Pelicans, the Spurs deals make a lot of sense, I think, from that standpoint. And yeah, those are a couple names, including the Najee one, man. He's out in Dallas, so that's excellent. You got Dallas, Pelicans, and the Spurs, ladies and gentlemen. And we do know that Gerson Rosas, the Knicks assistant, assistant president or deputy or whatever his title is, We know that Gerson Rosas used to be pres of Minnesota, so he would have an excellent relationship, or he would have more of a rapport with, these Western Conference teams right now. Also worth noting, I think it's Dumas who used to be, in Detroit. Now he's running the things in the Pelicans, right? And what are the Pelicans getting killed for? They gave Atlanta. They gave Atlanta their unprotected pick, right? So what would be valuable for the New Orleans Pelicans would be a decent second round pick, right? In this upcoming draft. That could help them out. Fam. We do know the Knicks have very high second round picks, courtesy of the Washington Wizards. Ideally, I would love to keep a hold of them, no doubt about it. But if you are the Pelicans front office, you might like one of those second rounders from the Knicks. That could help things maybe get it done. The Pelicans could be looking at bigger deals as well with Herb Jones. There's some teams interested in trying to, lure him away, fam. Hopefully not Detroit. Right, Detroit would be scary if they could get Herb Jones, fam. So yeah, I think the road is starting to ease up. We've got Sacramento back at home, man. If we don't get revenge on DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine, who the hell knows if they're even going to be there anymore, because they're on the trade block. But if we don't get revenge for Mike Brown and that capitulation a couple of weeks ago, it'll basically be 2 weeks to the day when we face Sacramento, man. That was one of the low points on the season, man. Getting blown out by Sacramento, fam. If they don't take that personally after 2 days rest and Sacramento coming all the way over to the East Coast, man, I want blood. I want a beat down on that night, fam. We owe them one, man. I'm sick of seeing DeMar DeRozan, man, look like a top 5 player in the league every time he plays us, man. We don't have anyone that can guard him, man. He's untouchable when he plays the Knicks, is DeMar DeRozan, man. He frustrates me more than Embiid from a face-up standpoint, man. When he faces up, right, he always gets that foul when he pulls up, right? So I want the next two bad. I want revenge against Sacramento, and then we have to beat the Raptors. Otherwise, they're on our tail right now, man. We need breathing room. And then I think we can beat Portland again. So, look, this thing could be a 5-game winning streak, right? If we beat Sacramento, if we can beat Toronto, this thing could go 5. And then we know LeBron James, man, it could be his final visit to Madison Square Garden. I think they're going to be playing the Washington Wizards before us. So expect LeBron James to rest up. LeBron James is going to be suited and rested and ready to go for the Sunday, February 1st. Lakers coming into Madison Square Garden, man. That's on NBC, right? NBA on Peacock as well. So that's going to be box office. The Knicks could be going for their 6th win in a row, I think, when it comes to that one. Man. Yeah, New York City says Golden State without Butler now. Let's get revenge on that. 100%. I need that. I need that. New York City also says, I'm not yet convinced Clarkson and Kolek are in Brown's doghouse. He just can't find minutes for them. Yeah, I think there's a way back for Kolek. I think Clarkson might be the one where, yeah, he might not survive the trade deadline, fam. We'll see. But I think, yeah, from Kolek's standpoint, I think he's given the team more than what some people expected in terms of his growth for the future. He's under contract for 2 more years. He's taken a leap. I do think he could help us out still in the future. We'll see what happens with Kolek. But he's a hard worker as well. So I'm going to bet on Kolek to improve. I think he's made improvements defensively. He's got a little sloppy with the basketball, with the turnovers. But I just think this season, fam, the stakes are just so high. think if you're these guys, right? You make a couple of mistakes, you're out of the rotation, you're on the bench. That's a lot for a young player in their second season to handle. Like a lot of these rookies go to bad teams where they can iron out the kinks and they can make mistakes, right? Imagine getting drafted into the NBA and on your first and second year, you're on the team that has to win the chip, right? Otherwise, the owner's going to blow it up. Imagine that kind of pressure, like Mo Diawara, Dardier, Kolek, Huck Porty last season as well. A lot of these guys, second round picks, yeah, some Knicks fans are down on their production and their ceiling, but it's like, you've come into a tough situation, man. If those guys came into Washington, Utah, Charlotte, Chicago, they'd be getting more opportunities. As I said earlier, Pacome Dardier put up 30 last night in the G League. And he might be getting more opportunities if he was on some other team, but it just is what it is, man. I think 90% of your NBA career is going to be decided by who you get drafted by. Look at Kevin Knox. Look at Shai Gilgeous getting opportunities. Giannis getting drafted to the right spot that developed him. Devin Booker went late in the first round and, got developed by Phoenix, right? And you see a lot of teams, Quentin Grimes moving around the league now, didn't work out with the Knicks. A lot of other first round picks go to the wrong situation too. Cam Whitmore, you see Kuminga just went to the wrong place. As well, fam. Look, we've talked about as well. The NBA needs expansion, man. I know they're working on this European League as well, which is, I think there's going to be ways that they're going to integrate competitions. Like, I don't think they're ever going to bring an overseas team into the NBA, but I think there's going to be some like cross league cups or cross league tournaments. They're bringing in, the powerhouse of Real Madrid in the European League. They've signed up for the NBA European League. I think they're going to try to find ways to, give NBA players a pathway to another league, but they're also going to expand the NBA. So yeah, overall, man, great night. Some Knicks stood up, played some gritty defense late, and let's see what happens, man. On February 5th, we might get a trade earlier. We're getting reports every day now, right? We're getting reports now why the New York Knicks, man, might be looking to see what's up with Milwaukee, right? Reports Portland have interest in Mikal Bridges as well. So Mark Stein's got great sources usually within the Knicks organization, right? He reports a lot of stuff on the Brunson situation. Obviously, the Knicks have had connections through Rick Brunson, Jalen Brunson, Casey Smith, the former doctor from the Dallas Mavericks as well. And Mark Stein's based out in Dallas too. So I think there's going to be a very interesting couple of weeks or week and a half, fam, to come up, right? We'll get ready to wrap this thing up as our New York Knicks, man, got a huge win against Philly and 2 days rest coming up now. Can we get that revenge on Sacramento and keep this thing rolling, man, and build that momentum? Welcome back, OG Anunoby. Big time performance. I think Brunson has looked better in the last 2 games, despite some sloppiness late in this one. But the ball was moving better today, right? With 27 assists. And Deuce McBride, we didn't, quite get his 3-point ball going tonight, but Landry Shamet has had 2 great performances back to back too. So he's stepped up in the space of Jordan Clarkson's role. And we'll be back, fam, in no time to break down the next one. Shout out to AP Super Chat contributions tonight. and everyone else rolling in the building, buzzing, hitting that like button. Many blessings, and let's go Knicks. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.